Hi there. This is a homily for the 27th Sunday of the year. And today we're looking at faith, a very specific part of what faith is. The issue here is, do I just simply think of faith as, well, I believe one, two, three things, or do I believe those things and then actually work in my faith? And that's really the part that's coming out today. Firstly, in the reading from Habakkuk, you have God, or Habakkuk, first of all, saying to him, "Why do you let me see ruin? Why must I look at misery?" This is the results of the Babylonians attacking Jerusalem. And the Lord answered and says, I will send you a message. If it delays, wait for it. It will surely come. It will not be late. And that's the first part of it, is that if a person is actually looking at a situation, even a frightening situation like the invasion of the Babylonians, if one waits in that situation and pays attention to it, you will find the faith necessary to be able to handle it. Then the second part is the rash one who has no integrity is one person who's going to have a problem because they're not connecting their faith to the way they are facing the situation. But the just one, because of his faith, shall live. So that's the promise. And this is all to do with, is this person really facing this situation? And it can be anything from the birth of a child to some terrible car accident to whatever. If one is working in faith towards facing that situation, then one will see God's response in that. The psalm goes on about, if you hear his voice, harden not your hearts. Exactly the same idea, hearing God, but not now in terms of seeing him right in the situation, but simply in terms of hearing his voice. In the psalm, the last verse, "Oh, that today you would hear his voice, harden not your hearts." This is from the book of Exodus. And basically there is this injunction. The psalmist is basically telling everybody around to pay attention to what God is doing, because what looks like an ordinary situation also has God speaking in it. Then the second reading is Paul's letter to Timothy, and he very simply says, God did not give us a spirit of cowardice. In other words, this is the fireman running towards the fire. This is recognizing that I have to face a lot of difficult situations. Habakkuk had to face the invasion. Timothy is being told by Paul, you have to really be faithful to what you've been ordained for, and then you will bear your share of hardships for the gospel. And this is the punchline, with the strength that comes from God. So right there in the hardships is God's gift of the strength to actually deal with it. Lastly, then, we have the gospel, and the apostles say to the Lord, increase our faith. And the Lord says, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you could say to this mulberry tree, get up and go and plant yourself in the sea, and it would obey you. He's not exaggerating as much as he's trying to use a metaphor to really punch home to the apostles that really and truly, with faith, you can do a lot of things. Then he talks about the servant in a parable. The servant is out working in the fields, comes back inside. The master doesn't say to him, hey, sit down, I'll cook you supper. He rather says, you go and prepare me a meal, and I will expect you to wait on me at table. the normalcy of this is that, yes, of course, the servant is going to do what the master tells him. And we are the servants. And lastly, the last part, is the master grateful because the servant did what he was commanded to do? We are commanded by our situation in faith to respond to every situation in faith. And this is where the amazing part of Jesus' parable lies. That in fact, we don't get medals for this. This is what I was created for. So why would I expect some special reward for that? End of homily. Thank you so much.